See, man, I like Japan because they have hot drinks. This is something that they really need to have in America. So you go to the vending machines or anything, and it's just you can get a hot drink any time of day.
It's been so long, I didn't even remember that. Actually, I don't even think there are vending machines in America like there are in Japan. In Japan, there's vending machines just everywhere. At the end of every corner, there's like a drink machine.
Yeah.
In America, it's like just some places. Rolling? Good to go? All right. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of D'ART Shtajio's vlog. Episode 22? 22? I think it is 22. All right. I'm Henry Thurlow.
And Arthur Isom.
All right. So this time we're going to be talking about, we were thinking about topics again. And this one came up, which might be interesting. Do you have to love anime to work in anime, or I guess do you need to love like the thing you're producing? Yeah. So it's different than the job conversation that we had before. This is like, do you have to be a fan, I guess, of the stuff?
Do you have to be a fan of?
Do you have to be a fan of the stuff that you're making if you're any kind of artist?
Do you have to be a fan of the industry you're in?
I guess I guess it goes beyond art, because you could be like. Could you be a professional football player, but actually you don't really enjoy watching football, right? Something like that, right? Yeah. Can you be a comic book artist, and actually you're not a fan of comics, really? So Arthel and I probably disagree with this one. Well, I guess, okay, so fundamentally the answer is, of course, yes, you can be. Yeah. It's physically possible, right? It's not impossible. So the answer is just immediately yes, right? It is the case. I know some movie actors, in their interviews, I see them say like, I don't watch my movies, or I'm not a big movie person, or something like that. And I'm just like, how is that? So obviously you can do it, but I guess the question then is like, what is your feelings on that? And do you think that's a good idea, bad idea, pros, cons, etc.? So here, I'll start with this one. I guess at the end of the day, my answer is I think you really should be a fan. I think you should be really kind of into what it is, and I think you should be able to answer a lot of trivia about it, not just for fun, but as part of your studying of your medium, essentially, right? Now, that being said, let me put the caveats on before I get into my reasons. Look, I'm a huge anime fan. I think that comes across very clearly in all of our videos. That being said, I don't have as much time recently to watch stuff as used to, right? So in college and in my 20s, I knew every single production that was happening, who was producing it. I would watch it, even if I didn't like it, like some romance comedy. I'd be like, this is stupid, but I recognize that this is the current stupid, really famous thing, right? And so to be aware of what is famous in my field, I just have to watch it, right? Now, I can't do that anymore, so let me go ahead and say a couple giant franchises that I'm sure all anime fans nowadays have seen, but I actually haven't. The Fate franchise, the Fate Stay Night franchise. Although,
just interesting enough, I did watch one of the versions. I don't know which one it is, but
I'm not familiar with the Fate franchise. I mean, I'm familiar with the characters. I guess I'm familiar enough with it.
Storyline or something.
Well, I'm familiar enough with it just because of my knowledge of the industry in general, and who's producing what and what is popular, that I'd be able to pick out characters from it and maybe even say if it was a feature film or whatever. So I might even still be able to answer some trivia on it. But I haven't seen it. I can't really critique it, and I can't take what it adds to the industry and take that in, right? Because essentially, like, if that's a book I'm supposed to be studying, I've never read the Fate book, so I can't take in any lessons that maybe Fate teaches us, right? Similarly, Sword Art Online, that's like a big friend. I haven't watched that one, and there's a whole bunch of others within the last like decade or so. So obviously, I still feel like I'm a fan, though, right? So I'm not saying you have to watch everything, right? You have to watch everything or you're not a fan. If you're not a fan, then you shouldn't be working in it. I'm not saying anything like that. Yeah. I know that the contention between us comes from you really don't watch very much. I think recently you've been watching maybe a little bit more to kind of brush up on things. But generally speaking, as you've as you've said in previous stuff,
Yeah.
you're kind of just a fan of Ghost in the Shell, essentially, at the end of the day. Like, you love the Ghost in the Shell film, and then that inspired you artistically, and et cetera, et cetera. But so, yes, I do think that, so obviously also,
Yeah.
that goes to show I can obviously work with and stand people who haven't seen it. I can stand you, I thought.
Yeah, I think that's interesting
But,
because like Henry said, like, okay, so so that's kind of the two differences, because Henry is a fan, right, of anime, and that's how he got into the industry and everything. Like, he's watched tons and tons of anime, he's read manga, he's, he was a weeb. Right? A weeb?
That was not a thing. I was in like the freak and geek kind of era, and I was definitely in the freak franchise. Like,
and
franchise in
the franchise of the freak.
I would have fallen into that category.
but I actually, like we've said on previous videos, like I'm not going to go as far as to say I'm not a fan of anime, because obviously I like things anime. And I enjoy watching people who do cosplay, and there are some things that I've watched and things, but I'm definitely not, like, wasn't part of the freak era of anime, and like, when people, I didn't have to go and watch things, and even now I still don't, like, I need to watch the whole series of something. I'm kind of in the anime industry just because like Henry said, I like Ghost in the Shell, I like the artistry of it, so I think I'm in the industry just because I like the artistry of it, and that's all, and that's kind of. But so make your point. So the question today isn't just explaining that to people, because they already know that about us. So the question today, I guess, is like, why do you think that's okay? Okay, that's true. So why do I think that's okay? So it's interesting because I have a few points on why I think that's okay, and also it's not important, but I feel that it could help depending on what your position is. Now, like, because obviously we need our fans, so that's great. Please keep being fans. Like, I don't mean that, but if you're in the industry, I think it's different. And so the reason why I feel that you don't need to be a fan of what you're doing to do it is because you can bring more. I feel that you can bring more to an industry if you don't have the what's the word I'm looking for, the
biases or something.
Like the kind of
influences.
Like you won't have these kind of influences prior to entering, so feeling that this is what you need to do. And I'm not talking about rule breaking and stuff like that. That we'll talk about in another vlog. That's different. What I mean is, like, for example, anime right now, all the anime have like characters with rabbit ears or whatever, like, maybe it's not rabbit ears, but some sort of animal ear, and all the girls are like this. And so I feel like that's happened because fans are making the anime. And then whereas before, like, if you're just you were making things because you were just really into cool character design and cool development, you weren't influenced by like this other creator's stuff. You were like the older artists, or the other artists who were earlier in the industry, they were trying to create something new and something exciting and interesting, and they put their own input into it because they weren't influenced by it. Whereas, like, I feel that if you get too influenced by something, a lot of what you do is heavily influenced by it, and so it affects what you do. And I feel that, like, so as an artist, I think that we're always supposed to be, of course we grow by other artists, and we learn from other artists and things like that, so that is important, but I think from other artists, right? So it's like, okay, like, for me, I love Caravaggio, which I think is one of the things that probably helped forge my interest in Ghost in the Shell, because, like, so Hiromatsu Ogura-san, his whole thing is light and shadow, and so there's a connection there between this artist and so I guess it falls at the end of Baroque, but like this Baroque artist, and then this, in Japan, this anime, which is somewhere totally, like, a totally different spectrum, different. Obviously, the anime people weren't thinking about Caravaggio when they were drawing anime, but they have a similar approach, right? Like, that the Tenebrists had at that time of using light and shadow to develop form and to show value and things. And I think that because I know that, and because I'm more influenced by that, I love Italian art, but I'm not a Italian artist, you know. But I can take what I learned from that and then apply it to this field. Where I think that if all you're doing is just watching anime, then you get into it and then you draw it, and then you don't have these other influences and things, that it kind of adversely affects your craft, you know. And so, whereas like, I actually don't see the positive as only being influenced by something. Like, I think that like you really do need to have many influences to help you grow as an artist, and so that's kind of what I think.
Oh man, I have a lot to say about this. I'm gonna rant a little bit. So okay, first off, where we agree. I 100% agree that with your comment, and also Miyazaki made this comment before, like anime sucks because otaku make it, right?
Yeah.
If people that who only love anime and who like oh, I can't wait to make my own Cowboy Bebop, then they're just going to be copying and pasting the exact same stuff that they already saw, the exact same types of episodes again and again and again, and they're never going to branch off from that, right? So if you are only influenced from anime and have no originality past that, or influences past that, nothing you want to add originally yourself, but you just love anime so much, you're such an otaku that you just can't wait to copy and paste the stuff you've seen, but do it again yourself, right? That's obviously a negative. I don't think that's good at all. So we agree with on that. However, I think that I don't think we're making Renaissance paintings, right? So being influenced from that and then wanting to add new things to, that you were influenced from these Renaissance paintings to the anime is a great thing. But at the end of the day, we're not making that. So I think that it is very important, whatever your field is, and this is maybe where we disagree, to be as fully aware as possible of what it is being made and is capable of being made, and what has impact in and what doesn't have impact in the exact field that you're working on with, right? So, for example, I mean, just like little things that I picked up on through just all of my nerddom, right? Like the Kenden OVA series, we actually both like that one, but that's an example of an OVA series where almost every single episode the style completely changed, right? Is that doable? Is that not doable? What is the positive consequences if you do something like that? What is the negative consequences if you do something like that? That exists, and that I have watched it and own it on DVD and watched it multiple times and enjoy it myself, right? Allows me to absorb all the positives and negatives and put that in the back of my mind, right? So that when we go to make something, I don't know if I can necessarily execute it exactly as well as someone else did, or better than they did, or worse than they did, or whatever, but at least I have this like encyclopedia in my mind of like what could it potentially work and what could probably potentially not work based on things I've seen. There's an old kids show called Zenki, which, why am I bringing up this random kids show of just honestly like average production values? There was something about that show that was just really exciting to me, and every few episodes, when they started fighting, they would kick in with like the theme music within the episode, and Kageyama Hironobu, the Dragon Ball Z the singer who did like the openings for him, like for that show. And Getter Robo and different things. He's really famous. Like his music, just adding that music on top of an otherwise average little kind of kids show fight sequence. Well, although there was still blood in the show, but you know, Japanese kids show. But it added all the quality of the animation didn't even go up, but all of a sudden, like, I'm super excited and I really loved it. So it's like being a fan of and having watched all of this stuff, it influences not what I want to make, but what could work and what couldn't work. And actually, when we do produce, to make it super personal, like I do think sometimes when we're going over what could work and what couldn't work, I'd be like, oh, and then we could add this, and I've seen you sometimes be like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. What if we do this? And it's true, like your suggestion is not based on Japanese anime at all. It's based on just a completely different influences you have. What about this? Wouldn't that be interesting? But sometimes I don't think that's positive, because it's like, I understand it's cool on a creative sense, right? That influence is trying to make its way into the production. But having seen what works and what doesn't, and what excited me and what didn't, I can see like that suggestion is exactly what resulted in all of those uninteresting episodes. Yeah. Sometimes pops into my head. And so I think watching as much of what it is you want to make it is kind of important.
So this is where Henry always delves into the realm of the subjective, right? Because this is obviously opinion. So, because it's interesting, because I feel that, like you said about music and stuff, so, but where did that animator get that idea of like, let me put this type of music? He obviously didn't get it from anime, right? He had to get it from somewhere else. And then it was like, oh, did it work or it didn't work? Now, because you can only know if something doesn't work or works because you tried it. Now, if you don't try it, there's no possible way for you to know if it's going to work or not. And so I think that, you know, so like let's use, so for example, the musician, that everybody, like the go-to, so since you talk about music, and let's stick to that topic. So, shoot, why can't I think of her name? She's done everything, Cowboy Bebop. She's, what is her? Yoko Kanno, right? Like, so Yoko Kanno, one of the, hands down, one of the greatest, right? Most prolific and amazing. I think everyone agrees, right? Yoko Kanno is amazing. Now, all of Yoko Kanno's influences are not from anime, right? So she wouldn't even exist if it was just like, no, you can't try this stuff, it doesn't work for anime, if that was applied to her, because half of her music would just be wiped off of the thing. But like, as I influenced by you know, Renaissance art, classic art, blah blah blah, she's influenced by Renaissance music, right? And she's influenced by jazz, she's influenced by blues, and then she decided to then let's use this stuff in anime. And I think but that is important.
Which is why you need more than only anime influence. However, you're not, I mean, I think it is a fool who tries to reinvent the wheel when they go to build a car, right? It like, look at what has been made and is being made currently in car production, right? Go and drive a ton of different types of currently being built cars, and know what is
we're not saying
doable and not doable.
But the discussion is not, should you be aware of your medium? Should you be a fan, a diehard fan, and watch everything? You don't have to be a fan of cars. You don't have to be a car aficionado to make cars. That's a difference. That's two different things.
No,
because of course I'm aware of anime. And I know I went to school to study the craft of it. So I'm not saying that the person should jump into creating something without knowing.
Let's put it this way. Here. And this, I don't think we're just going to end up agreeing at the end. But so I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan, right? When I was young, I you know, as a nerd, as a creator also, I'm probably sketching the characters, but even just as a nerd, I want all the products, I want all the things, right? Like I love Dragon Ball Z. Oh my god, what's going to happen in the next episode? Woo, they won, right? Okay. So the current Dragon Ball Super comes out a few years back, and I watched the first few episodes, and I really, really hate it, and then I don't watch it because I'm angry as a fan. Why is this happening, right?
Toxic fan.
But recently, I did binge the whole thing, right? As I'm working, and I felt like that was important, actually. I felt like for a few years...
but you need to step away from it.
Well, no, I felt like I didn't want to watch it because I was just angry with it. But I realized, like, as a fan, but also as a creator, it is probably beneficial that I am aware of what currently is happening in Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball fandom. What parts of the new show, let me watch the whole thing first and then figure out, did I hate the whole thing? And if so, why? Was I wrong for judging it too quickly at the first few episodes? And why was I wrong? And where was it very strong, right? Where was its strengths? Where was its weaknesses? What did good animation later on in the series add? What did bad animation take away? Was there bad animation in areas that were still good and I enjoyed as a fan? Was there good animation in areas that I didn't like? So as a fan watching it, not just as a technical person, like this episode has good animation, this episode has bad animation, but as a fan to actually feel like that one had bad animation, but I was still excited as a fan. That's important to absorb think about why that was.
Well, I think that that's different. Well, because I think that's just conflating things. Because yeah, you can watch anything, and like without being a fan, and you would still have that same input. Right? Because I don't think being a fan is necessary.
If you really enjoyed it, then I think just by default you call yourself a fan.
Well, so
because you
like
really
if you
liked
just
it.
so. But you're specifically putting that caveat in there. As a fan, I felt this. What I'm saying is like, you would still feel that even not being a fan. Oh man, that.
Well, then maybe just the definition of fan is what we need to go.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is the definition of fan, because I think so. Of course, you have to be aware of your craft. You have to study your craft. You have to know about it. Not your craft, your industry, right? You need to know about the industry. So I think that. So I think we have to kind of define that, because, like, yeah, sure. Because essentially, I feel like you're saying you need to watch all the episodes of One Piece. You need to watch all the things. And I'm saying no. I think I can watch one episode and I'm fine. So what? That's what I'm saying. What's the difference?
So here's the difference. I think you obviously can and should just be a fan of whatever you want. I think watching one episode of sporadic things just to get artistic influence, that's a great thing. But for me, I think someone that doesn't love something to the point where they would be willing to call themselves a fan of it, that person should probably not be in charge of making the next era of whatever this legacy, whatever this thing's legacy is going to continue on to, right? Like there was Dragon Ball and now there is One Piece, and after One Piece there will be something else, right? That's just gigantic, that's pushing forward the legacy of amazing shonen series. The creator of One Piece loves Dragon Ball. Whatever the next one is, I would be appalled if they were like, I wasn't really a fan of Dragon Ball and One Piece.
I think it depends, because I like I said, I think you're kind of conflating things. So, like Miyazaki, he's not a fan of current anime, but he created his own. And even at that point, he was a fan of animation. And he created this type of anime, like, and so it's weird because
no. So Miyazaki was a fan of anime feature films, like the White Snake. He is a fan of self-contained animated features, and so then he becomes a person well known for individual standalone animated features. Now, so what I mean is, if you're this gigantic fan of, you are a gigantic fan of Ghost in the Shell. I think if you,
well, I'm a fan of features. Okay, so I watch a lot of anime movies.
If we are, for example, though, if we get an opportunity to produce a shonen type series, right? That's maybe not 100 episodes, let's not be ridiculous, but it's some type of long thing, right? That's like the 10, 20 episodes, right? In the vein of Dragon Ball, One Piece, that's the kind of excitement that we want to try to build up to, right? If you do not understand the true thrill of those series, you might understand technically because you've watched a handful of those, but if you do not understand the full thrill, then I do not think you should own that project.
So I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm going to agree with you. But see how Henry has to add a whole bunch of caveats to make sense. Like, yeah, in my world, like, I get that. Like, of course, if you're trying to make, because that's not what I'm trying to make, and that's a lot of different, and that's actually the opposite of what I'm saying. Like, if you're into an industry, sure, if you're just going to be making Star Wars movies for the rest of your life, you should know about Star Wars and watch all the Star Wars movies. A lot of people that I don't think get into this industry only wanted to make Star Wars movies, I'm not in this. I'm saying, like, if you're into an industry, if you're just going to be making the next version of Dragon Ball Z, by all means, you should really watch Dragon Ball Z. That's what you're saying, and I agree with you. But why would you be doing that? Like, why is it that, like, you know?
But you keep saying only, as if the second time done watching Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super and One Piece, then I'm done and I go to sleep. I watch films, live action films. No. I watch comics.
But of course, and so what I'm saying is like you can watch things.
Art museums.
You can watch things, but you don't have to watch all of them. Is what I'm saying. So you can be aware.
Right.
But your position is that you should be aware of all of them. Now, if it's not, then we would share the same position.
Well, I can't watch every anime, and I started this whole thing with there's a few even gigantic franchises that I'm unfamiliar with. So, and obviously,
because of work and stuff, you also started with that too. So you had a reason why. So probably if you weren't so busy, you would have watched them.
Potentially, yeah, that is reasonable to say. I just, I mean, I think the point's been made. Like, if it surprises me, especially, so we went into all the whole weeks, we talked about, you know, loving what you do and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it is a pretty base assumption to me. It's a base assumption to me, though, that you are fully in love with not just the act of whatever your job is, but like you truly love this thing. It's a part of your life. So you would call yourself a fan of anything. I used the example in the previous thing, like, all I want to do is play video games. Well, you gave yourself an answer, right? Yeah. That person might be great in video game sales or production or something like that. But it is also the case that they are a giant video game fan. So obviously that's going to help them through the day. So to not really identify as an anime fan and like, I just watch an episode of some sporadic anime, but at the end of the day, I wouldn't call myself an anime fan, and yet dedicate your life to anime production is very strange.
Because I think that's the thing, because I think it depends on what part of production you dedicate yourself to, because anime isn't only the, like, you know, the content that's there, right? For example, so I mean that's not the only aspect of anime, I should say. Like the visuals of Dragon Ball Z, like there's storytelling, there's like the visuals, there's like voice acting and things like that. Like there's so many aspects of it that you can like those things. And so for me, like I particularly like storytelling, and I feel that like, so just, you know, so I do like. So I think that's why I look for just good animations to watch. Like there are specific ones I think that the creator of this, the Miyazaki's example, truly understands the craft of storytelling, truly understands the craft of character development. I'm not gonna watch a ton of I'm sure like some fans of Dragon Ball Z, all the fans will say, yeah, but the characters are developed. That's fine. I think you're probably right. Like, and I'm not going to argue that the characters aren't developed in it. I haven't watched it enough to know that. But I don't think I need to watch Dragon Ball Z to look for great character development when I could just watch, you know, Mimio Samaseba, for example. Like, you know, so I think that you don't need to, you know, I think everyone should, like, fans of something should just be fans of something. You should take as much of it in as possible because you're a fan of it. You should go out and you should buy everything, and then I think that's fine. But I think as a creator, now should the creator also be that? I don't think it's important to be a creator, because creators have a different task.
This is all I'll say here. I'll just end. This is my final point, right? I am sure you would say to me, Henry, I think you need to be, and you'd be right partially in this. I think it would be valuable for you to study more Renaissance art and be perhaps a little bit more influenced from that or something else than just anime, right? But on the exact same note, I suggest to you, if you did understand the full charm of Dragon Ball Z and you did understand the character development and why the fans loved that, I think that would be very beneficial to you.
I would disagree, because I actually wouldn't say that to you, because I actually don't think you need to study Renaissance art. What I would tell people in the industry, and this is kind of, you know, you've heard me repeat this over, I would say you need to study your craft more than, I think that's more important than studying the industry, than watching anime or watching. Like, I think that if you're so like for example if you're creating games or you're doing whatever you're gonna be a 3D artist, I think you should really just be really good at being a 3D modeler, and then watch 3D movies. But if your first thing is like I'm gonna go home and study a whole bunch of 3D movies, that's gonna be a better 3D modeler. I have like some bad news for you. That's not gonna make you a better 3D modeler. You're not gonna be good at all. You probably won't even get a job just because you watch 3D models on watching Pixar. I think that and that's the difference between a fan and people who work in the industry. And that's the reason why like people work in the industry, they always say that I don't get enough time I don't get enough time to watch things, I'm not really a fan anymore or something. Because the most important thing is your craft, what you're doing. So drawing and becoming a master at that is what I think you should study more. And I'll end with that.
Meh.
So there's that. He already ended, right? Now you're gonna try to add something. No, he ended.
No, I'll just put the thumbs down for that last one. I'll just put the little thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
All right, guys. Well, let us know what you think in the comments.
Let us know what you guys think. Shtajio.
Shtajio. See you next time.
That's pretty good.